My name is Fadi. I'm the executive chairman of Vocado. The degree is dead. You heard this from everyone that spoke right before me, and you'll hear it for the next 2 days. Education is really being turned upside down. The days when we went to school and got a degree are behind us, and now we learn in new ways. And everyone at this conference, you'll hear from 100 companies that are building content or building platforms so that people can learn in a new way. But you will not hear from many, like Vocado, who are actually solving the small problem of how do you finance all of this? Who pays for all this education? Today, in the United States, we spend about $250 billion a year on aiding students to get through the higher ed model. 20 million students, $250 billion a year. However, the problems are huge. This money comes mostly from government with complex rules. The federal government rules on aid are 5,000 plus pages, plus the states, plus every scholarship source. Employers are getting in on this business to give money to help people finish certain degrees. The current process of managing the $250 billion of aid is very expensive. Estimates are that $2.5 billion gets spent a year on administering that money. Mostly people, because the process is highly manual. Most of the software that exists to do that today is designed for term structured models. The same model that has existed for hundreds of years that everyone before me told you is dead. Meaning, the moment you unpack education and you have people learning online and learning in different ways, non-traditional methods, learn at your pace, flexible learning. The government introduced CBE, competency-based education. All of that is not addressed by today's software systems. They cannot manage non-traditional education. And so one school district in Arizona that has 250,000 students decided to take one of their colleges and make students start once a month as opposed to once a term. They've had to hire 700 people because PeopleSoft stopped working. They had to do it by hand to remain compliant. And so what Vocado did is solve this issue by spending 7 years. This is the first time we're speaking publicly, by the way. 7 years, we've been building an artificial intelligence expert system to completely, A, automate financial aid administration, and 2, to unshackle the learning model from the term model, so that the entire system is based on the student. Now look at this picture. This is very important. On the left-hand side is what you're hearing at this conference. Flexible academic models. Learn as you go. Learning units could be courses, competencies, credits, weeks, hours, whatever the student wants. And the academic models could be very different, right? Standard term is what most of us used to study, but now schools are offering different terms. And then on the right-hand side, you have all the sources of money that can come from federal government, state government, private funding sources, employers. How do you connect these two? So we built a student-centric expert system to actually automate all the funding and linked it to the US government, linked it to the institutions, linked it to the student in order to change the way $250 billion are distributed every year. This is a huge issue. And I'll give you a small analogy for this picture. For a long time, the transportation system was built, programmed, bus routes were decided based on algorithms, and then we, the riders, had to figure out how to work with that transportation system. Then comes Uber. Uber says, no, forget the transportation system. The rider is what is important. All of us will work around that rider. This is exactly what Vocado did for the student. For years, it's academics who decided these are the right programs to graduate and get a job or to be educated. Now the students are learning, they're learning in different ways, and the financial system to feed that is not there. Vocado solved that conundrum. It's a very difficult problem. There are billions of combinations that student could do, and scholarships are tied to their classes, their attendance, their performance, which changes every minute. Vocado in real time is recalculating all of this for each student moving money between the institution, the student, and the US government in real time, the states, all private sources of funding, in order to manage that $250 billion a year. The results at our first installations, because we have finished a 3-year massive test with 250,000 student cases. That's an expert system. So AI engines are worthless without massive testing. So we finished the testing, and the first institution, more than 150,000 students deployed it, and the results are staggering in terms of the reduction in speed of getting a student qualified for aid and ready to take a class. Responsible borrowing, with $1.4 trillion today of student debt. Responsible borrowing at this institution is up 50% right now. The speed of disbursement is 65% improved. Student satisfaction is going up every single month since this is deployed. And of course, the efficiency of the institution is significantly better, which means of these $2.5 billion, we believe about $1.4 billion could be unlocked value that this system will solve. We have a history of building big systems. Most of this team helped me build a prior company that IBM acquired that was also a major expert system to synchronize complex supply chains. This is a big problem. This is not an app. This is 7 years, 55 engineers building a pretty major system. The system has over 2 million lines of code. This is essentially the size of an ERP system now. We have tested it thoroughly because this manages the money of the institution. It's not just an enrollment system. All the flow of money goes through this. And of course, we are building a pipeline. Our pipeline has 1.6 million students, but the company has not been out. So we're here because this is the first time we're starting to talk about this technology and share it with the market. Abry Partners, a PE firm in Boston, is our main backer. But we are looking for growth capital at this stage so that we can take the company to market. Thank you.